Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of our podcast, Is Breakfast Included? How you guys doing? Good? That's great. Today on the show, I sit down with my good friend Sara Abrams. Now, Sarah's a bass player, vocalist, and songwriter for the band Daughter Chaos out of New York. She's also an amazing guitar tech who's based and does most of her work out of Main Drag Music here in Brooklyn. I want to thank the guys at Main Drag for letting me invade their space to do this interview. We had a lot of fun. She kind of filled me in on everything she's ever done. Playing guitar, moving out to LA, moving to Sweden, back to Philly, ultimately ending up here in New York. And somewhere in that story, she tells me the story of singing for her first band, but not quite being able to rehearse with them. It's kind of funny. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. I hope you dig it. Let's check it out.
Yeah, you got your levels and everything?
I think so. Talk
Okay.
into it.
Checking out. Check.
Check. Okay.
Good. All right.
Tell everyone who you are.
All right. So, yeah, I'm Sara Abrams. We're here at Main Drag Music. I'm a guitar tech here and a musician and all sorts of things. I guess we're mostly here to talk about music. So
We're here to talk about everything.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a band called Daughter Chaos. I play bass and perform vocals and songwriter and all that stuff, production, and yeah.
Right on. Where are you from originally?
So I'm born in Florida, Jacksonville, Florida, and mostly grew up in Pennsylvania. So I'm a weird mix of kind of everything. I don't know.
All up the East Coast.
Yeah, mostly East Coast. But I've lived on the West Coast as soon as I was like 18. I think 20. I moved to LA for a couple years and then lived in Europe for a while. Came back, moved to New York, which has kind of been my steady for a while.
When did you start playing guitar?
Kind of late. I was 19, I think. So, but I had played saxophone and piano as a kid, so I had a musical background. So
Yeah.
it wasn't like starting from total scratch.
Music run in your family?
Yeah, my grandmother loved music, so she always played piano. My mom played piano, so I always had a piano and a Hammond organ around.
Right on.
So I just grew up messing around with that, and in the seat of the, those like fold up seats on the pianos or the organ, like I found some archaic, like color coded, like how to read music, by color kind of thing. And I just kind of taught myself. And then the classic thing of like elementary school, it's like, come to this room if you want to join the band kind of thing. So
You play a recorder?
yeah, I think we started with recorder, but I wanted to play the saxophone.
Yeah.
So I started, they ask you what instrument do you want to play. I said saxophone. And so I got involved with the school music program. I was already way into music. I think I saw a rerun of the Ed Sullivan Show on PBS. Like, I didn't have cable as a kid. We had like 3 channels or whatever, kind of old school. And I just remember I saw this rerun of the Ed Sullivan Show with the Beatles. And I was literally throwing myself around the room. Like, I was so excited by that. That's like a really pivotal moment for me, where I was like, my mind was completely blown, and I immediately wanted to know everything I possibly could about the Beatles, and beg my mom to bring me home. At that time it was CDs, you know. And she was like, how do you know who the Beatles are? Like, what are you talking about? And it just went from there. And so I was just always really into it from that point on.
So you taught yourself to read music. You joined band. I'm going to say band.
Yeah, school band. Yep.
Did that further your like theory?
Yeah, definitely. So then I started, that's like reading sheet music, and got into the jazz band. I never got into I never wanted to. I was always like, no marching band. Like, that's not for me. I'm not going to march around. Like, no offense to any marching band people. Hat? Yeah, it was like the costumes. I'm like not, I'm not like I've always been like a nonconformist. I was like, I can't like go march around in formation on a field. Like it's not for me. So I liked the jazz band because it was cool because there was there was like a drum kit.
Yeah.
And we had a guitar player and a bass. So it probably felt more like towards what I was into.
Yeah.
And then, around like 15, I got into like Black Sabbath, like 14, 15, and started smoking weed. And I think that pretty much ruined me. And then I was like,
it was all over then.
It was all over. Then I just wanted to play heavy metal and just went heavier and heavier from there.
So you started guitar at 19.
I started guitar at 19, but I actually tried to be a vocalist first. And it didn't go well. I like for some reason wasn't like allowed to practice with the band, but we were like covering like Ozzy and Metallica, and so it went really bad because I'd never played in front of a loud band before.
Yeah.
And
why weren't you allowed to rehearse with the band?
I don't know if they were like just awkward teenagers, like. I don't know what happened there.
Girls singing.
Yeah, just this awkward.
Yeah.
Like just meet us at the gig and get on stage kind of thing. And like they're like, yeah, we're practicing, but just like meet us. It was like we played some graduation parties.
Yeah.
And it just went so poorly. And I actually tried it twice, and I think that like scared me off of vocals until like recently. I was like, okay, I'll just start playing guitar. There was a couple years there where I didn't really play anything, I guess. I got really into visual art from like 16 to 18. And then by the time I was 19, I was like, I want to play guitar.
You started at 19, you moved out to LA when you were 20.
Yes.
Did you move out to play music?
Yeah. So I was like way into it. And like, I really hadn't been playing very long at all, but I was like, I want to start a band. Yeah. Which is like bold. Now that I think about it, I'm like, I could barely play, and I'm just wanting to like start a band and like,
Yeah. I don't know what year this was. I'm not going to ask you like, how old are you? But when
I'm 36. I'm 36.
But when I was younger, like when I picked up guitar, like we immediately learned the chords, and then you wanted to start a band.
Right.
That was it.
Yeah.
There was no like, I still don't know how to pick a song off. I don't know how to play cover songs because I just wanted to write my own stuff.
Right. So
it was shitty, but it was my shitty songs.
Right. It's the excitement of wanting to create something.
Yeah.
You're like, you realize you learn how to play, and like even looking back, with a more advanced adult mind or whatever, you're like, oh, I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. But at the time, it's the feeling.
Yeah.
The excitement of playing and like playing in harmony with someone else and realizing like that this is like the most amazing feeling. And I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's just like, that's why I'm like, wow, that was bold. I was like, barely knew how to play. I'm like, I'm going to go to LA and start a death metal band. Like, and I did.
That is pretty bold.
Yeah. Like try to get on a label and like, it actually could have been a really cool project. That project never really got traction, unfortunately. But it was a good like first experience.
What year was this when you went out to LA?
That was like 2005 or 6.
Okay.
Yeah, 2006, like early 2006 maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long were you out there?
Till 2008 for 2 years.
Yeah.
So, no, 2009. Yeah, it's hard to remember. It must have been, because then I came back to Philly. I ended up, so that band didn't work out. And I was like, my dad is from that generation, like you need to get an education, of some sort. And I was like, all right, well, I don't really think the university thing is for me. Like I'd gotten an associate's degree at a community college. Mm-hmm. I was playing in bands in Philly before. Actually, I'm skipping a whole thing. I was playing in Philly before I moved to LA. I had a band with my friends, and that was like a jam thing where we were just very like free form, like we were really into Hawkwind and stuff like that. And like, yeah. So I was actually, you know, we had like a very jazzy drummer, old school guy. He was like way older than us.
That name doesn't get thrown out a lot on this podcast. Hawkwind.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That was like one of the things we were like Can and Hawkwind and, you know, what was another one? Yeah, that's like a lot of what we'd listen to. I was like really into Vanilla Fudge at the time and stuff like that. So, and Wishbone Ash and stuff like that. So, like that was just like playing in a Philly basement and kind of like smoking a lot of weed and experimenting with stuff and experimenting with music, playing way too loud. Probably did a lot of hearing damage. But you know, we had a really good drummer who was older. He was kind of like our mentor, and he had like this crazy vinyl collection. Steve, I called him Soul Man. He drove like a white Cadillac, and like he was just awesome, old Philly guy. Yeah, so that was that, and then I went to LA, and I was like, I want to do heavier stuff and like play death metal and do something more structured and write songs. And
have you always been into death metal?
Yeah, I think kind of. It's definitely like part of it, but I'm into a lot of other stuff too. Yeah. But now, like, I feel like the older I get, the more that's what I want to do. Like,
that's cool.
Yeah, it feels like at this point, it feels the most familiar to me, and like I feel like I really have a handle on it. On it just feels like that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So
coming back to Philly from LA, did you kind of pick up where you left off in LA? Like what you were doing out there, did you bring it back here?
Yeah. So I'm skipping around a little bit. So my dad was kind of like, you know, get some kind of education. I'd gotten the associate's degree in Pennsylvania. I like created my own music courses. They didn't even have a music program. They just let me use their recording studios and stuff. So I just figured out how to, what did I learn? What was that called? They didn't teach us Pro Tools. It was something else. It was an old, I don't know if it's even still around, but it was
Cubase. Something
no, it wasn't Cubase. It was like can't remember what it was called, but it was like Pro Tools. Anyway, I could just book out. It was meant to be for like radio shows and stuff, but I would just book out the time and go in and like record guitar and like layer guitars on top of each other for hours and hours and hours. And the guy that ran the program was a metalhead, so he was like, fuck. Cool. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
No.
He was like, fuck yeah, like this is awesome. Like I would bring him like Candlemass records and be like, listen to this and get into this, and he thought it was awesome. So then I went to LA. It's like, all right, you need some kind of education. I was like, okay, I'll go to trade school to learn how to repair guitars, because there was a program there, the MI Guitar Craft program, which no longer exists. But at that time, it was on Santa Monica Boulevard in like an old paint factory. This is before they had moved into a bigger facility, but I was kind of like in like the first gen kind of it, and it was cool. So that's where I built 2 guitars while I was in LA.
So is it like what GIT and BIT was? So it's now on Hollywood Boulevard, I think.
Yeah, so that's like the main campus.
Yeah.
And then it was called GCA Guitar Craft Academy.
Yeah.
Was down like totally separate from the campus, down on Santa Monica by like Orange Street or Street, I think.
Yeah. And that's where you learned.
And that's where I learned the guitar craft stuff.
Okay.
So that was like a 6-month program. And then when that was over, I was like, all right, I feel like I'm done in LA. Like I tried with this band and I completed this program, and the band like wasn't happening. So I was like, I'm going to go back to Philly. And I was in a relationship at the time with someone in Sweden. So I was kind of like, you know, let's see what happens. went back to Philly only for about 6 months, but during that 6 months did a lot. Like, I started my old band back up.
Yeah. The jam band
Type thing. Yeah. It was like, King Crimson was another thing we were really into.
Yeah.
So it was like really.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. It wasn't it because, jam band sounds like maybe Fish or Grateful Dead, but it wasn't like that at all. No. It was like really experimental and odd and like
very
proggy kind of stuff. Like the drummer would feed us stuff for like Emerson, Lake and Palmer and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And so all weird time signatures and instrumental. The only 2 gigs we played were at a strip club run by the mob in South Philly, which is hilarious. And they invited us back. I also played with a band called Hatchet Face there. And that's where I got involved with kind of like the doom metal scene, quote unquote. We had shared. So Kate from Hatchet Place had played bass in Pentagram. Bobby Liebling lived a couple blocks away from our rehearsal space. We shared the space with Joe Hasselvander. And so that's what I got. Then I met all of those people from that scene in that short 6 months. We played the Stoner Hands of Doom Fest. And like, I played my first gigs with a real PA and a sound man and like in a venue.
So those were your first real gigs?
Yeah, my first real gigs. Yeah. So it was like a really fruitful time. And then it was my relationship in Sweden got more serious, and he invited me to move there. So I was like, well, let's do it, like whatever. I always kind of wanted to live in Europe, and I have an adventurous spirit. So it was like, all right, let's explore the unknown kind of thing.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
You couldn't have picked a better place, though.
Yeah.
Sweden's amazing.
Yeah. So it was a very nice place to live. Really lovely people. I got my first job with guitar repair there. Mm-hmm. I never had I was so green at the time. It was like my first,
So what was that like? You went to this school, you built 2 guitars.
Yeah.
So you learned this trade.
Yeah.
And then now you're having to apply it.
In a different country. Where there's a language barrier. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people speak English, but I shared my bench. It was like in the town's like 1,000 years old. And my bench was in a basement. I shared my bench with a guy named Pike from former Yugoslavia. He didn't speak English at all. My Swedish was not very good. So we had very like limited communication, but at first there was like definitely so at first it was like a little rocky, and then over time we became friends, which was really cool. Like I valued that connection, and just hit the ground running. I think like looking back, that's kind of challenging to go right into the trade like in a different country
in such a short period of time.
Yeah.
You did more than a lot of cats do.
Yeah.
It
was busy time. Yeah. I really like lived fast in that respect of,
How long had he been repairing guitars?
Pike?
Yeah.
A long time. And before that he was doing like I think he had done finish on cars. Yeah. He was one of two repair guys I've known worked with cars before they got into guitars. So he had insane finish skills. He would like refinish harps, and like he refinished a guitar for me, like a Sunburst, and just completely made it disappear. He's like one of those guys nobody's ever going to know who he is. He's not on the internet. I don't know if he's still alive or whatever, but it was amazing. Slowly he warmed up to me. So it went from like I remember the first day I came in, there was a keyboard right on the bench with a sign that said "Rör inte," which means don't touch. And I'm like, how am I going to work if I can't touch the bench? It was that kind of like friction.
Yeah.
Slowly over time he melted, but it's not like we spent a lot of time together, like doing repairs.
Do you think that benefited you, the language barrier, starting this new career in a different country? than it would have if you would have started here and you get your average Joe come in like, hey, I need the action set.
Yeah, it might have actually like given me a little bit of insulation.
Because in Europe, not to say anything about Americans, in Europe, they're serious about their guitars.
Right. Yes. Yes.
Super serious.
Yes. Yes, they are. Still the similar challenges though of like one of the first, like I think especially as a guitar tech, there's challenges both ageist and sexist where like people are expecting like an older man to be fixing their guitar.
Yeah.
And so like, you know, even if they see like a young man doing it, like my friend Tony, you know, when he first started, he was like 21 and people would just walk right past him because they're like, well, he doesn't know what he's doing. I'm going to go to the guy with the gray hair, you know? And me, it's like double. It's like, well, okay, she's like 23 and she's...
Hey, Missy is the guitar tech around.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I even remember a woman asking, she brought in a guitar for a restring and she was like grilling me. She's like, are you sure you know how to do this? And I'm like, man, I'm in Sweden. Like, this is like a feminist country. Like, I'm like, give me a chance. Like, I can definitely restring your guitar. Like, I got this. So it was interesting because like certain challenges were still there. But overall they accepted me and, I mean, I hope, like looking back, I hope I did decent work. So like this is my first job and they trusted me and I think people were happy. But it's just one of those things where you only learn by experience and like.
It is, right?
Yeah. So.
I'm still learning.
Yes. Same.
You know, like there's that old saying, like there's road techs and then there's techs who can really work. Who do the work.
Yeah.
You know, like I think we as road techs, like we encounter stuff that just, you got to figure it out quick.
Right.
You know, it's do or die.
Yes.
Which I think you do too as well.
Yeah.
You know, but
it's different.
You have a little time to do it.
Yes.
Whereas sometimes we have to do it by 8.
Yeah. Right. Right.
You know?
I feel like the pressure there is more like it has to be functional by 8.
Yeah.
Whereas like when you're taking to someone that's not on the road, it's like you have the time to, I mean, yeah, there's a timeline, but I can really sit there and get into thousandths of an inch.
Yeah.
You know, I even working for some bands in Sweden while I was there, like they would bring me like I took care of the guitars for Arch Enemy while I was there and they had great road techs, like the best in the world, but they weren't doing what I was doing. So when they were off the road,
they'd bring them to you.
I'd do the setups.
Yeah.
And even then when they were on the road, sometimes they'd email me like, what are your specs? Because my tech needs, like my tech, like I really sat and figured out, like I still know what, you know, the height, the nut height, and it was very specific of what they wanted, and like super low action, and like just me trying to like tell their like German guys on the road with them, like, okay, this is the measurements that I use. So yeah, it's like two different worlds.
It is
definitely.
Yeah. So when you came back from Sweden, did you kind of pick up with your guitar? I mean, your repair and. Did you immediately start here?
Yeah, so I came back. There was a little bit of a ramp up period because I started working at a Sam Ash doing sales, which I'm absolutely terrible at. Like, I was just really terrible at that.
Was that a product of like, yeah, we can start you in sales, but we're not going to let you touch the guitars? Or was it, did you just need a job?
Yeah, I just needed a job, and they had a long-term, Sam Michael, who became one of my mentors, had been there for so long, they didn't need a tech at that location. What ended up happening was I worked there, they just wanted me in the door because they could see that I had experience. But they didn't need a guitar tech, so they're like, well, we can hire you for sales. I was doing repairs for my friends in the area and just out of my house. And then they called me one day and they were like, do you want to there's an opening for tech in Northeast Philly. Do you want the job? And I was like, all right, it's not really where I live, but I can, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Like this is what I'm pursuing. So I remember I moved, the bench had just been like in this weird spot in the back. And I was like, I actually want to there's like a maximum security cage wwhere they kept like high end stuff.
Yeah,
and I was like, I'm going to turn this into my shop. So I had like inside of this cage, like working, and I would shut the door. I partially too, because like just for privacy and so I just turned that into my shop, and like I built a bench back there and I outfitted it. I mean, there's a Harbor Freight. They kind of let me gave me a budget for getting tools and stuff. And I did the best I could, it's like looking back, I wish, you always wish you could bring the experience that you have now to the table in your past. Like, I don't know if you ever think like that. If you think of like old things you did and you're like, man, like I really, like when you probably started on the road, like.
I still think about some of my first gigs.
Yeah.
And I think, I should have ran that cable more streamlined.
Right.
And it bothers me. And I'm like, but you had only been teching for a month.
Right. Yes, exactly.
And I've been doing this since, 2007.
Yeah, wow.
And it still haunts me. Things still haunt me that happened years ago.
Oh yeah. Same. Yeah. Like I'll think of things. I'm like, oh, like what? Oh yeah, like I totally could have done this a totally different way. I remember like gluing a headstock on. I don't know if I should say this on here. Like gluing a headstock on. Like I totally could have just put some filler in there and like been fine. I like reshaped the whole neck and refinished it, and like it was a low end like Yamaha guitar.
Yeah.
It was for a child, like a young girl. They were thrilled with it, but they were kind of like, whoa, like when they got it back, they're like, whoa, this is totally different guitar, but it works now. I mean, it was totally broken, and so I think, and I had Sam Michael at the King of Prussia location as a mentor, so I could call him, or if something was way over my head, I could drive it to him. But generally, I was just on my own.
Do you remember when you were doing that? Like, because I do. Like, I remember overdoing it, being a little eager on repairs, like you just said, like the reshaping of the neck and gluing it when it just needed filler, like being a little eager, going, I got to do this perfect. And then now the same thing happens on the road, and you're like, I'll just put some gaff on it.
Exactly. Yeah. Way overzealous. I remember working on a Parker Nightfly for like 8 months.
That's not unheard of.
Yeah. Because it had an electronics issue. I mean, I still have like a catalog of Nightfly diagrams on my laptop.
I turn down gigs for certain. Like, I won't take a gig if there are any Floyd Rose on the guitars. I won't work on them.
So you'll just say no
because it's. I like my sanity.
Right. Yeah.
And then there's guys who's like, it's easy. You just got to sit down and be patient with them. Well, no.
Well, and that's the challenge too, is so when I was there by myself and I'm in North Philly, and it was kind of like a shooting gallery because people would just come in and I'd have to come out and talk to them. Mm-hmm. And people would grill me, and I was young and I didn't know, like, and it's like young lions, like instead of just like nowadays, I just be like, all right, you know what? I don't think this is, whatever. I would have something else to say. I wouldn't like, then I'd be like, I'd feel compelled to like rise to.
When you're young, you want to just sit there and it's almost like you're answering all their trivia questions.
Yes.
And you're gonna win this game.
Yeah, I was trying to win instead of just, I didn't have the confidence yet to just be like kind of walk away and be like, all right, you're just grilling me for the sake of grilling me. I would kind of like engage or maybe take on things that like trying to prove myself,
Yeah.
And
that's normal though.
Yeah.
Now it's normal.
Yeah, now I know it's normal.
Yeah.
But so I would I did my best, and
well, I found out about you because I follow Stu Mac on social media.
Okay.
And a video showed up on Stu Mac, and you were working on a guitar, and it said Stu Mac main drag music. I looked it up. I was like, oh, it's here.
Yes.
And then you started doing a series of videos for him.
Yes.
And I thought, well, this is different. And then I dug a little bit deeper with your band and so forth and your guitar playing. Have you ever wanted to go on the road as a tech?
Yeah, I have actually. Not anything high end. It was I did some tours. I did like a Black Label Society tour with the opening acts.
Who was that?
Wino.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. I also played with him for a while. But it was just like acoustic. I think I did some electric gigs with him too, both playing. I mean, that was really kind of like Earn Your Stripes type stuff. Like, I'm driving, I'm selling merch, I'm fixing the guitars, I'm setting up the stage, I'm playing sometimes too. You know, it was like everything. And
all for $500 a week.
Yeah, not even. It's like pay to play.
Yeah.
You know, earn your dues type shit is the way I look at that period in my life.
Yeah.
You know, same thing, like young and not really knowing my own value yet and just kind of wanting to be in the business and working for the cause kind of thing, but not really valuing myself properly, I think.
Yeah, I don't think it wasn't not valuing it. A lot of that is kind of being naive. Like I'm gonna go out and do this.
Right.
It's almost like when that club owner says like, we can't pay you, but it's great exposure.
Right.
It's almost the same thing.
That's what it was.
You know, I'm gonna figure this out.
Yes. So yeah, I think there's a lot of that in the music business. Where
the old great exposure line.
Yes. yeah. You're gonna, do it for the experience kind of thing. Yeah. And I definitely did. Definitely maxed out some credit cards, living that life, just like, but it was an experience,
Did you do any more road work after that with anyone else?
No, no, I haven't. And I kind of like, I definitely admire when I see people that are working on the road, like in your world and like at a high level and like have a whole like, road case set up and like all that. Like I really admire that.
Well, I'll be honest with you. People like me admire like techs like you guys here. Like they can do it all.
Yeah.
I'm a one-trick pony. I even tell people I'm not a great tech. I'm just a good hang.
Yeah.
People
so
like hanging out with me.
What's your main function on the road?
I started out as a guitar tech. I'm a bass tech. When I got the gig with these cats, I was a bass tech. So I got to be known as a bass tech. So if I get called for a gig, it's pretty cool because they can afford just a bass tech.
Yeah, right.
So it's really cool, for me. But I love working on guitars. I don't like working on guitars outside of what I do.
Yeah.
Because I'm very not confident in my skills. I don't want to scratch someone's guitar. People are very particular. I'm not a people person when it comes to doing that kind of stuff. But on the road, like, all that goes away. Like I always say, like, these are my guitars.
Yeah.
I'm taking care of my guitars.
Yeah. You get very specific in your role on the road.
And it's always the same thing. It's the maintenance. Like you probably get 3 or 4 different issues a day that you're working on. Whereas me, I'm trying to please the player. And if it's just one thing that he's nagging about, nagging for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
But then that's what I'm working on.
Right. So you're with the same instrument every day for 30 days or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's going to shift a little bit every day and you're just maintaining it to be where he likes it.
Exactly.
Basically.
Actually, where I like it.
Yeah.
I do where I like it. And then I just hand it to him.
Yeah.
And that's it. So yeah.
But he likes what you like. That's why
I haven't had any complaints yet.
Yeah.
So, but no, it's that type of thing. Like, so guys like us kind of envy the like being able to work on everything. Like people make jokes about me because I joke about my soldering skills are horrendous.
It's a whole different. There's so many skill sets.
But I can solder something to get by. I can make cables. I can do all that, and nothing's failed me yet. But when I look at it, I'm like, oh, it doesn't look nice. Like so and so's.
Well, it's a whole. There's like making it work, and then there's like making it super clean. And these guys have really stepped me up. I don't want to, like, some of my old soldering jobs, I'm like, oh God, I wish I could see what I used to do. Just because it's like, yeah, it functions and it works, but now
mine look like silver gum stuck to the pot. That's what my old stuff looked like.
Yeah. I mean, like, Anthony here is like high precision. It looks like a work of art when it's done. And I'm like, okay, I need to make it like that. Like, I need to get up to his level now. And like, it's not just about the connection being solid and everything. It also is like this, like, it's highly efficient and just like looks amazing when you open the cavity, and it's like, whoa.
I love when I open a cavity and it's point to point and it's so clean and straight. What spoiled me is now a lot of the basses we use it's all circuit boards. So if a preamp goes out, you unplug it and you plug the other one in, the new one, and that's it. I'm like, oh, I don't have to solder anything.
Right. Yeah.
But they're trying to shove more into the cavities now. So.
Yeah. There's sometimes you open up, it's like a whole computer in there.
Yeah.
So
have you ever wanted to do road work? Like, you ever wanted to go on tour as a tech, or would you rather tour as a musician?
Yeah, I think I'd rather tour as a musician. I think that's why I've shied away from it, just because I realized that if I'm on the road with another band, that I can't work on my band. Yeah. So it's hard.
I tell people all the time, once you start teching, you're a tech.
Yeah.
I have friends that are musicians and they want to know how to get a tech job. And I'm like, you can get it, but then you're a tech.
Right.
He's going to look at you as a musician.
Right. You end up in that world. So,
and it's a great world to be in. Like, I love doing what I do, but
it's a cool way to travel. It's a cool way to just like, I mean, you're putting on a huge production every night. And, I'm so impressed. Like, I have friends that do lighting, and it just blows my mind. Like, that's my goal, is to have like real, like, to have a lighting person. Big productions are exciting to me. So if you get to work and be a part of that, that's awesome.
No, I love it. Like, I look out every day and I go, well, I did a little bit of this. I made a little bit of this happen. So, Daughter Chaos.
Yes.
You were originally just the bass player in this band.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. It's been a journey. That started like with Armageddon, and the kind of roots of this were from Armageddon, and I started playing bass because we needed a bass player in Armageddon. So, and just because the guitar playing is this like high level of shred that I personally don't play that style like that efficiently. So it's like, okay, I'll play bass and do the songwriting, which is important. So I was totally cool with that. And then we started Daughter Chaos. We were a 5-piece, and the original singer left like kind of suddenly, like right after we had completed the first EP. And it didn't feel right to get another person, because it was such an insulated thing and kind of derivative from our past. And so it was like this group of people that like organically, grew out of this
together.
And so it was like, well, it'd be kind of weird to just get a random person to sing. So I was
kind
just
of fucks with the chemistry too, right?
Yeah, and it would just be like really out of left field. Like, all right, I mean, it could work. Some people do that and it totally works. But I was just like, you know what? Like, I had it in the back of my head from back when I was like 14, 15, like fronting this thrash band, I was like, you know what? And I'd started working on singing and like clean vocals. I'd gone out to Illinois and done some recordings singing, and I was trying to get more confident with my voice. And then this happened with our singer. And I was like, you know what, guys, like, give me a chance. Like, I was like, give me a month. I'm going to try this. If I can't do it, like, I'm going to need to look at, we'll be honest with each other. And if it sucks, then we'll start looking for someone else. And if I pull it off, let's roll with it, So I started trying and I figured it out pretty quickly and everything just went from there. But it was like not planned at all. It wasn't like, it's not like really what I envisioned. I wasn't planning on.
You didn't envision yourself as a bass player or a singer or a bass player.
Yeah, actually, so funny enough, like starting out, I was like, I want to be a guitar player. Yeah. Like that was really, so it's interesting that I ended up being a singing bass player, but okay, life.
And the
takes
band
turns.
does let you rehearse with them, right?
Yes, yes. So yeah, totally different. Yeah, so that's it. That's sometimes you gotta take the roll with the punches, and I think like you're saying, like you're still learning every day. Like I try to maintain that. Like I try to never close myself off to a possibility. It's not like, well, I can't do that. I'm a guitar player, so I can't play bass, or I can't do vocals. Like it's like, well, yeah, I can play bass. I'll figure it out. Well, I can do vocals. I'll figure it out. It's same thing with repairs. It's like you can't be like, I can't do that. I mean, sometimes you do. Yeah. Sometimes you have to see that, that something is above your level of capability, and humble yourself and hand it off to now I'm talking about repairs, but if something comes, like a neck reset comes in, I'm not going to be like, oh, I can totally do that, and then like mess up their instrument. I'm going to take it to the guy that knows how to do it, or woman that knows how to do, the person that knows how to do it, and try to learn something from them while they do it, or if they don't have time for that, maybe not. But so being humble is important too, but generally in life, I try to maintain an openness towards the possibility of any ability.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm going to stop you right there. It's just something I've noticed in like your Stu Mac videos, your shop videos, your music video, you come off as like stone cold stoic. I've got this shit together. And in meeting you and talking to you, like and this is not an insult, I see that bit of insecurity and that bit of like, I'm just trying to do this.
Yeah.
Like, I want to do it. This is what I want. I'm not good at it yet, but you are good at it, but you're not like walking around with your chest out going, I'm the fucking
right.
shit.
Yeah. I'm not like, I'm not
people.
like the Ted Nugent of guitar repair or anything.
I'm not saying you're faking it online, but you're presenting it in a way like,
I think it's important to present things confidently, especially if you know what you're talking about. Because I just and same in performance. Like once you step on the stage, like you better be confident in what you're doing.
Yeah.
Confidence is a huge thing. And so, but it's important, we're still humans though, too.
I hope you didn't take that as an insult.
I think it's like you're exposing my vulnerability right now because we're talking about everything, and it's important to be vulnerable too. But when it comes time to perform, it's also important for me personally to turn on the confidence.
Yeah.
And that's when it's like, it maybe comes across in the instructional videos, but especially on stage, it's like, then it's go time, and it's all confidence and balls to the wall kind of thing.
I've been doing what I do. I don't know, 2007. I've been playing music for a long time, but what I've noticed is the ones who walk around with the confidence are the ones that when it's go time, it ain't there.
Yeah, because
So to be able to turn it off when it's not there, I think that's the important thing.
Yeah, a little like psychoanalysis.
Yeah.
A lot of I get that from customers where they come in and they're like, want to tell me what to do, and I'm like, well, why are you bringing it to me?
Yeah.
You're gonna tell me what to do,
right?
Like, aren't you bringing it to me so I can help you?
Yeah.
Like, it's funny because people will do, it's that chip on the. I think the chip on the shoulder thing comes from insecurity a lot of the time.
Yeah,
and,
rightfully so.
And then maybe it's for a good reason, because when it comes to go time, it's not really there, but. It's important to be humble and be a student. For me, it's important to be humble and to be a student in all respects, up until that point when you really have to put it on the line.
Your vocal style in Daughter Chaos, is that all you?
Yeah.
There's no effects.
No effects. And I'm very stern about that. With Andrew mixed the EP, and I was like, no effects, because I don't want anyone to be able to say that I relied on anything. It's like, if I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this. And I'm kind of skipping something, because I had demoed all the vocals. For the Armageddon album we did, I wrote all the lyrics and I demoed all the vocals before we had them recorded with the singer we used. And I was like there in the studio, like showing him, but when I was demoing, I wasn't doing it the real thing. I was doing like whisper vocals.
Yeah.
So when it came time and some people actually do like whisper vocals on their final recording in metal. And like black metal, I think that happens a lot, where it's like not the real thing, where they're not really projecting, and that's fine. It can still sound cool, but for me, I was like,
it's got to be the real thing.
I was like, I can't do like I've been demoing. I just didn't know how to do it before, and I knew how to make it sound kind of like it with whisper vocals, and like some distortion. But
when you say whisper vocals, what do you mean? Like
kind of like whispering into the mic, like. I don't know if I can even do it anymore. Like, where you gotta...
It's like doing the voice, but not putting.
Like talking like this.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
it's not like.
Yeah.
It's not the same as like. Like coming from sorry.
Coming from the diaphragm.
It's coming from the diaphragm.
Yeah.
So that's where I got in touch when that month trial period that I did with the band was like, I need to figure out how to do this. I need to figure out how to use my diaphragm and like use my entire torso. It's not, the whisper vocals come from the throat. Yeah. It's like an effect. Like I said, it works for some people.
Kind of like singing from the nose.
Yeah. But I was like, if I can't figure out how to do this for real, then I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
So there was kind of like a prelude where I was.
Oh, they were obviously happy with it.
Yeah, they were psyched. When I sent them like an iPhone, like what is it, like the voice memo of like me doing the ABCs growling, and they were like, what the fuck? Like they were like, how did you? They're like, oh shit, like you figured this out? Like, and I sent them just like some takes, and Andrew like popped it in, and they're like, this is gonna work. And I was like elated. I was like, I felt like it was like that was like a real championship moment for me, where I was like, wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do it, and like to get their approval and like to get my own approval and then eventually get like the approval of other people that are like really into the genre. And but that's why I was like, no effects. There's one song where he puts like a little bit of a robot effect because it goes with the storyline of the lyrics. But I was like, outside of that line, like no effects.
Right on.
So I'm very like.
So was the next journey learning how to play and sing and control it all?
Yeah.
Because your bass lines are not that easy.
No. Well,
I mean, they're not.
Compared to other bass players, I'm not going to pretend I play, another moment of humble. I try to play kind of dumb on the bass. Like I try to keep it simple.
Yeah.
And keep like a little bit of caveman in there.
But your drummer and your guitar player.
Yeah, they're nuts.
Dude.
Yeah, they're out of control. I know. I call them they're like my space robots.
They're crazy.
I know, they're out of control. So I feel like for me personally, like there's a lot of these kind of like tech death type bands and it's cool and I totally respect that. But for me, like there needs to be some element of primitive, like cave woman in there. And like, that's to me, the rock and roll element, maybe like a little punk element of just like, not getting too complicated. So I try to be like the more simple element of the band where I'm playing with these like really insane virtuosos and like, I'm totally cool with being like kind of simple about it. So
just holding it down.
Yeah, hold it down. So, so the whole point is, I guess my bass lines are not like crazy complicated, but the songs are complicated. So it's not the easiest thing in the world. There's definitely coordination involved, like definitely makes me sweat, like figuring this stuff out, but it's really rewarding to get it down.
Yeah. And you guys are finishing up
a full length. Yeah. So it's written and we've got, some pretty cool stuff on the table for getting it mixed and engineered and we're going to go to Nashville and track the drums and stuff. So we haven't like fully like,
so are we looking at 2023?
Yeah, I want it out in 2023.
Do you guys have any live shows coming up?
No, that's going to be after the release. Okay. So I've kind of like, a lot of people ask and I definitely feel the pressure to get back on stage. But I also feel like we should just focus on getting the record done.
Yeah.
And then get on stage.
Right on. Are you ready?
To get on stage?
Yeah.
I still have some work to do, for sure. No, I personally still feel like I have work to do. And also the band as far as getting like to the level that I want to be. Yeah, still have work to do.
Outside of Daughter Chaos,
overall, yes, I'm ready. I'm ready to get on the stage. But yes, go ahead.
Outside of that, you work here at Main Drag, and you make soap.
Yes.
I think that the description is soap from the old country or
Old World.
Old World,
yeah, which is funny because we ended up doing a song called Old World. That Andrew named it it came from, I think the demo was called Old World. And I was like, let's just roll with it because that resonates with me.
Yeah. How long have you been doing that?
So I started making soap in 2017. That was like an exercise in like my kind of like, I don't know, me wanting to feel like a chemist or something, like a low-level chemist, and just put things together and make something different. Like I was just fascinated by the fact that you mix these three things together, it turns into something completely different. So yeah, I was fascinated with the saponification process. So I really just took it to the next level. I had just quit a band. I was really like in the death throes of a couple years of this kind of like, yeah, like the music industry, like meat grinder,
Yeah.
like going.
Man, it'll do it to you.
Yeah, I definitely put myself in the meat grinder.
If you submit to it,
I totally did.
you know.
I was like, yo, I'll sell my soul for rock and roll. I was like, wait a second, I don't have to do that.
I can see why all these cats are driving vans now, and they've just moved on and had families, and
right,
because it
can eat
all
your life.
aspects of the music industry are fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Like you meet the worst people,
Yeah.
but you meet the best people.
Right. It's the best, and it's like, what is the Charles Dickens? Like, it's the best of it was the best of times and the worst of times, and it's so true, because like you can have the best night of your life, and it can like quickly become the worst. Really, like it's that I mean, it really comes down to like, I think the people that keep doing it because it's really hard, and like I think the people who are outside of it are like, wow, that's so cool. Like the people that don't understand, they just think that we've got these awesome jobs, but the truth is like they are awesome jobs, but like it's also really can be very stressful and hard and difficult, and like financial stuff it's
feast or famine.
And if you go down the wrong wormhole, you can fuck your life up so bad. And I really went down that hole, and like I checked into the wrong hotel for a while, and just like was going down a really bad path, and I pulled myself out of it, and the soap was a big part of that. So
that's pretty cool, because a lot of people don't pull themselves out of it.
Yeah, I'm a rare case. I'm fortunate, and I see a lot of casualties of the people that didn't. So it's really sad. Like a lot of people from that time in my life are unfortunately no longer here.
Yeah, I mean, you read I'm not going to say 100%, but just about every music autobiography, somebody dies.
Yes.
Along the way.
Oh, yeah.
Not,
a lot of people.
They lose important people along the way for all the wrong reasons. But like I said, I tell folks all the time, like, you can either do it or you can't.
Right.
Like, like you can either be a musician, you can tour, you can do everything, or you can't.
Right.
It's not easy.
It's not easy. A lot of respect to you for what you do too, because it's not, it's no aspect of it is easy.
Well, you too. I mean, like you said, you're 36. In a traditional sense, people think you're 36, you're not married, you don't have any kids. Like, you're like, I'm going to release this album next year, and then we're going to fucking play. I'm working on my real doom vocals. People look at you like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And I've said this time and again, and people that are listening to this who know me, my mom still thinks that I'm hanging out with my friends in the band.
Right.
She didn't get what I do.
Right. It's hard to explain to your family.
Like
I definitely catch that flag. They think I'm like, it's like I'm in a fantasy world or something.
When are you going to get a real job?
Yeah, exactly.
Is the thing. Like,
yeah. It's like not important. It's like, why? It's like, I think that feeling I had watching the Beatles on Ed Sullivan as a 7-year-old,
it's never going to go away.
That's the thing that carries.
Yeah.
Like that feeling is still driving me 30 years later.
You tell one person this and they get it.
Yeah.
You tell someone else and they're like, but that's you were a kid then. Like,
right.
The Beatles are only what they saw on TV. The Beatles weren't real to them.
Right.
You know, I still remember the first time I heard Paranoid.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know what I was listening to, but it's every time I hear that song, it still does. And people are like, oh, but that's not.
That's what really.
That's one of their popular songs, but that's the song
matter.
that sent me down this path.
Yeah, it does. It's certain things, the things that put the chills down your spine, or I'm like getting goosebumps right now
Still,
from you saying that.
Yeah.
Just from you saying that, because I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You said that, and I got goosebumps because that's what made me like. Okay, everyone knows Iron Man, and everyone knows, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, but I like that's what made me, I had a guitar sitting under my bed. That's what made me actually pull it out.
Yeah.
I want to figure out how to play that.
Yeah.
You know, and like that never goes away. If I mean, maybe for some people it does. It didn't go away for me, obviously.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't go.
And that's what I'm getting to that point. So like one of my mentors and very good friends, he's 67 and didn't really see success until later in his life. Bobby Liebling.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Pentagram, yeah.
Yeah. Very dear friend of mine. And like, you know, I talked to him at length about this kind of stuff. And he's like, you know, just keep doing it. Like never stop. Like, you know, if you just keep going, eventually everyone else will stop and you might get some success. Like, and there's no guarantees for anything.
But what is success?
It's, do you feel gratified?
Yeah.
You know, it's like that, you know, like I'm so like, for me, it's the record, like live shows are important.
Yeah.
But as I'm getting older, like when I was younger, it was more like I want to get out. I still haven't like played live as much as I really, really want to in my life. And I want to do more of that. But the record is the permanent record. Like
it's going to be there long after you're gone.
That's the permanent record. It's published. It's the record of what you've done. And looking back on my past, when I've not recorded things with my bands, where did those songs go? They're gone.
Yeah.
I don't know how to play them anymore. I don't even remember what they sounded like unless I recorded them. And so that's what really makes it real, is that you complete a record. So now I'm like hell bent on just always having the next recording. And it's like, you know what, we'll do the shows after the record's out. And, you know, it's like focus on one thing at a time. Getting a record done is hard enough.
Yeah.
You know, and like you said, you know, I'm at all my friends I grew up with, they're having their second kids right now and so on. And they're like, how you doing? I'm like, yeah, it's like, I'm sure they think I'm nuts. But, and you know, but I was, you know, I had to go, I saw a bunch of old friends and, you know, a lot of them have moved on and they're having their kids and stuff. They're not playing music so much anymore. And, you know, I was like telling Bobby this and he's like, so did you start to feel like you're crazy? And I'm like, no, I feel like I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah.
He's like, atta girl, like, you know, and it's, you know, I hoped I maybe brought some music back to them. Like, hey, you guys should get in the garage and play a little bit, you know, but like, don't kill your dreams. Just like having a family is a beautiful thing. But like, you don't have to, you can keep playing a little music, you know?
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah. For me, it's totally different though.
Yeah.
You know?
No.
And and some people do both successfully. Like some people have families and like tour and do records and like massive respect. I think you need like a major support system to do that.
Yeah.
Probably.
Just rare.
Yeah.
But when you have it, it's good.
Yeah, I mean, you see like the guys in like Motley Crue all have families and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think they're pretty well set. You know, they're doing okay. You know,
when you don't have to tour, it's okay to tour.
Yeah, exactly. Hi, Bubba.
Well, where can people find you on social media? I know where I can find you because I found you.
Yeah. So it's Sara Abrams, Sara _ SARA _ ABRAMS _ is my personal music page. Daughter Chaos. I think it might be Daughter Chaos Official. I'm trying to remember the actual handle. If you search Daughter Chaos, it's like the only thing that comes up. There's actually, it's actually cool because, you know, a lot of people, that name was something that came to me. It was meant to be the next Armageddon album. And like the guys actually wanted, when they came to me to start the next band, they like wanted to use that name. They like remembered that. And I was like, really? Okay. Like I never planned on it being a band name. And some people still, you know, it's a unique way of putting the words together that like it was no problem to get daughterchaos@gmail.com and there's like nothing else pops up, so it works. So if you just search that on Instagram, you'll find us, Daughter Chaos. And the soap is Sarada Craft. Sarada Craft. And
check out all of it.
Yeah, check it all out. It's all on there.
Sara, thanks. We've been talking for a long time.
Yeah.
So thank you for taking time out of your day.
Thank you. I hope
I caught you at work.
I just kind of divulged all my info. I hope I gave you what you were looking for.
No, exactly. That's what this is.
Yeah.
I do have one more question.
Sure.
I don't know if you've listened to my podcast. It's called Is Breakfast Included?
Okay, yeah, I was looking for it.
If it was included, what would you have?
Okay. Probably an omelet. I like high protein meals. I'm into weightlifting and stuff, so yeah, probably an omelet. Yeah.
Right on.
What about you?
Pancakes.
Pancakes? I'm gluten free. Otherwise, I love pancakes.
But anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed this.
Yeah.
And I do want to talk to you guys again whenever the album comes out.
That would be awesome. Yeah. I was totally psyched when you hit me up, and means a lot. So thank you.
Oh, it means a lot. You took time. Thanks a lot.
Yes.
Right on. Sara Abrams. Pretty cool, huh? You can find her on Instagram at Sara_Abrams_. And from there, you can link to Daughter Chaos and Sarada Crafts. Go check out what she has to offer. We're going to talk to them when this album comes out in 2023 and see where they're at. All right, guys, I am done. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next week.